Hey guys, so we're just back again, and we just really wanted to talk this time about prayer. I know prayer is something that sometimes it just seems kind of like why communicate with God? What is it about prayer? Why does God answer prayer, and how has God worked in people's lives to answer prayer? And so we just wanted to talk to you just about our personal reflections of prayer in our own lives, and hopefully it'll encourage you guys in your walk with God and in your prayer life. So, Angie, how about you? How has God been showing you about prayer?
Yeah, I think one of my just favorite stories about prayer is about my brother, my little brother Garrett. And when I came to Christ, no one in my family were Christians or believers, and so the first person I just wanted to pray for, I put on my list of 5 people to pray for. The number one person was always my brother Garrett, and I would pray for him, every day, and would hear stories. I would get to hear stories of other people praying for their brothers or other people praying for their friends, and really encouraged me when it seemed like it was so far from being true. And I didn't think, I think sometimes I didn't think it was going to come true, and then seemingly randomly to me, obviously God was working behind the scenes. I got to see my brother trust Christ through some kind of crazy circumstances that happened around him and through him, and it was like, I just remember sobbing. Laura's mom was there, and I had ran out of this. We were having a retreat. I ran out of the retreat because he was there, and I just was sobbing because I just couldn't believe that God had answered this prayer, and it was so cool. But I always just remember, as when it seems so far away, people are reminding me that when you pray according to God's will, He hears it, and it'll be answered. And so I was just so encouraged by that story. And Laura, you have some similar stories like that.
Yes, there's family members even where you just think they are so far away. There's just no way that God could reach them. There's just no way. Mm-hmm. There's my dad and my stepdad were both people like that in my life, and I think it was 25 or 26 years where I was praying for them.
Wow.
And they are believers now, both of them.
That's amazing.
Yes, which is amazing. But there's also seemingly small things. For instance, when I lose my keys, I'm like, God, where are those again? Ding! The thought pops in my mind. Oh, and there they are, Or other things, I remember one time in Durango, when Austin and I were in college, neither of us had a car, and you can do that in Durango. But we were praying, God, would you give us a car? And someone just randomly called us up and said, hey, I'd like to give you a car. And so we were just praying. We're like, God, is this really the car that you have for us, or is that for somebody else? We don't want to take somebody's blessing. And we just thought, we don't think so. We think that is supposed to be for somebody else. So we told them no, and then the next week another person called us and said, hey, we'd like to give you our car.
That's so crazy.
So that was cool. Or even with our house, we knew that the Lord wanted us to move closer to campus so we could really use our house as a place of ministry. And we were just, you can't really orchestrate that. So we put our house on the market, and it sold in 2 weeks, and then we were stuck not having a place. So we looked at this place that was way, way too expensive. I was not happy, because I'm thinking, why in the world would we even look at a place we can afford?
Right.
But we went there, and there was scripture all over the walls, and so we thought, well, let's just tell them why we want to use this house, why this house, and tell them this is honestly all we can offer. And so we wrote them a letter saying we want to use it for ministry, and right away, the people accepted the offer.
Wow.
And she said that God had told her someone would be, she was praying that someone would buy the house, and that someone would come and put an offer on the house and to not worry about it and to take the offer.
Wow.
And so she took the offer, and she said that they had a prayer meeting in their house for 21 years, and they really wanted it to still be used for ministry. So we were thinking, oh, man. And she was really praying for that. And then she was telling us when we were doing the signing that they got to give a testimony at their church that we came along, and what a blessing we were to buy the house. We're thinking, oh my goodness, you just gave us $60,000, and you're thanking God for us, So it was, just really cool things. And then more about, we really struggled with infertility for many, many years, and prayed for a little boy, Asher Stephen Crocus, and God provided, gave us a little boy through adoption, and there's just so many really cool stories of how God has come through and how He has answered prayer in really cool ways.
That's awesome.
I just love that.
That's such a, those are just so amazing stories of just, God really does care about those little things, even like our keys. I love that you pray that God helps you find your keys. I know I need to do that more because I always lose my keys. So maybe I should pray that God helps me never lose my keys.
Hey, that's what I mean.
In a place where I'll remember them. But I know for me, like, something I've just really been struggling with recently has just been prayer. And I don't know, I think it's just so easy sometimes when you have that list of things that we're praying for, those big things that we're praying for, and it just doesn't look the way we want it to look. And I think a big part is just the timing. I know that there's things I'm praying for right now, and I want them to happen now. And God's telling me to wait, and that's so hard. So I think sometimes when we pray, I don't know, it's just God has a different plan, and His plan is good, but sometimes it's just disappointing. And I know I've just been really struggling with some of like the prayers I've had, like just feel disappointed, and I have family members that I love desperately that they're just so far away from Christ, and they just so don't want anything to do with Him, and it breaks my heart. And so I think God's just really been on this journey with me through prayer, and something that I'm just really learning is just persistent prayer. And in Luke 18, 1 through 8, it just tells about a persistent widow, and this widow goes to the king, and this king is not a good king, but she goes so many times to ask for justice that the king finally gives in. And it goes on to say that God is such a good king that when we keep coming to Him with our requests, that He will answer us. But I think something I'm learning is sometimes that answer doesn't look the way we want it, and as we live a surrendered life, that's just something that happens in prayer too, is just that surrendered prayer of, God, this is what I want, but I'm willing that if you want something different, that's okay. But I also personally know that sometimes it's just really hard, and I know that right now I'm just struggling with just waiting on God, but knowing that He's a good God, and knowing that sometimes it's just persistence, and it's that faith that God will answer in the way that He wants to answer, but it might not look the way I want it to look, and I might not be in the time I want it to be. And so I think sometimes that's a painful process of submitting to Him and submitting to His timing, but knowing that He knows the best. And I know that He will answer these prayers, but I think there's just this surrender that needs to happen in my life that I'm working through personally.
Yeah,
so.
I know. And like, I just love your faithfulness, Hope. It's like, even though it's like, you know, it's not up to you, because it really is all about God and His character, and you get to see so much more of that. You get to see God as this good God, and in your faithfulness, like, you're growing, and I just love that, you know, and I think we've all been in seasons like that. And,
and being willing to like take your heart before Him, even when you don't know the outcome, you know, like even if He says no, to be willing to like put your heart out there, to build that relationship, you know.
I think that's so true, is like prayer is like a friendship with God, and He's such a good friend. And when I think about what a friend is, it's somebody that I call up, you know, when I'm having a hard day or I really need help with something, I would call a friend and I'd say, hey, this is what I'm going through today, can you help me out? And God is that friend, and so I'm learning that, and I'm learning that sometimes when He doesn't answer my prayers, it doesn't mean that there's something that I'm not doing right, because I think I'm so, like, if I'm doing the right things, then God's got to answer me correctly, but sometimes it's you know, He still loves me, and so He knows what's best. And it doesn't mean that I'm not doing something correct, but really I think what success is just being faithful, and so that's something I'm learning, is just to be faithful even when I don't see the results. And that's like faith, you know, and I think prayer and faith go together, and prayer, like answered prayer is just so amazing, but I think it's also amazing having persistence in your prayers and having faith that God will answer in the way He wants to answer. So. But anyways, we just hope this time has been encouraging for you, and we'd love to hear from you, like what God's doing in your life and prayers that God's answered. Just, I know that there's so many amazing things out there that God's answering prayers to, and it's so encouraging to hear that. But I also know there's people out there that are struggling with just those prayers that they've been praying for years and years and still haven't had an answer. And we'd love to pray with you on those prayers and come together as a community to pray for one another too, because that's a huge part of prayer. So, but anyways, we're so thankful you guys are here, and we just really love getting to know you more, and so we hope that you'll comment on these videos, and we'll get to hear your heart too.
See ya!
Bye!